Welcome to the energy update for November. And we've just come out of a really rough month of October where there was a lot of really strong, intense energy that made you feel really internalized and a bit crazy. So for October, I sent out a few emails and made some short clips. So you might have caught those. And I was really talking about that sense of feeling like you're not yourself or you're going insane, with a lot of thoughts and feelings coming up and stirring all inside of you. So if you were feeling that, you are not alone, which is one of the core messages that I did want to share with everybody. When you're feeling that stuff, it does feel like such a lone, isolated journey and like you're the only one and you're totally going nuts. But know that there are other people out there feeling the same or their version of it. So also with that late October, sort of towards the end of October energy, it really started to have a bit of a shift. So you may have noticed that it settled down somewhat for you and you might have had some insights and inspiration. During that time also, around the turn of the month, really vivid dreams you might have been noticing, where they feel very realistic or very bright. And that is very much you processing your stuff and then them coming to life in the etherics, so in the other world, so to speak, where your subconscious mind has had a lot to process and internalize and kind of needed an outlet in a form of pictures through your dreams in order to organize information and waken up your consciousness on some level, process everything that you've been needing to deep within, because there has been a lot. And with energy, there's always the flip side. So you could be a person that had an awesome month, and that is great. And it really depends on where you are at on your journey, like I always say. For November, we're now moving into our second eclipse. So we had one in the 20s of October, that was the solar, and now we're moving into the lunar eclipse on the 8th of November, which also coincides with the US elections, interestingly. So eclipses are always known as just a really intense time, and if not intense, then there's this real sense of change and movement and a really powerful kind of dynamic energy. You might have stuff coming up from your past, stuff that's being hidden, coming up to the surface, and it needs somewhere to go, right? And so with the total eclipse coming up really shortly, you might go through a period of time where you feel like your repressed emotions are all kind of one big merging muddle. So it's a really important time to, especially for other energies as well, to really feel grounded and centered. And if you're feeling miserable, just do something to lighten yourself up, even just small things, whatever it is, watching a show, going out for a walk, having a joke, having a laugh, anything like that, just to lighten up the mood, because it can be heavy and tense. And it's a time of deep reflection as well. And sometimes that will be meandering reflections that completely make sense after a time when you have sort of a nice linear track of thoughts. And on the other hand, it might be mixed up and muddled. And in that case, when you're feeling that kind of discombobulated, a myriad of emotions and feelings and changes of moods and so on, and thoughts coming through your mind, that's a time to really sit back and relax, get some rest, or do something active or fun just to take the load off, right? Because, it can be a lot for us, especially with everything going on in the world as well, in the backdrop. And that's just a reminder also to always take care of yourself, your own energy, when there's other things happening around you, which can also be in your home and workplace and in your outer environs, as well as the outer world. Because we are all connected to this collective energy, and sometimes we can mistake that energy that is sort of filtering in and filtering into our energy bodies, especially if we are very sensitive or we're feeling a bit weaker and not as strong, then it can become our own as well as other people's energy. So it's really important to shake that off and recognize what is yours and what is not yours, because they do merge in, and then those themes kind of unite with your own. So for example, if there's a lot of outer energy of a sense of lack or unknown, fear, scared about what's happening or in the future, then that will be impregnated and sort of imprinted onto you, and then all your feelings of, whether they're real or not, illusions or not, will absolutely come to the fore, and you'll start feeling like just scared of what's happening in your life or in your future, just fearful in general. And you'll start feeling those feelings within yourself, and your own fears will come up to the surface. That's completely exactly what eclipse energy is about. But this really is for your own human growth and evolution, because as the strong light comes in, and as I say that, I'm drawn to the light there in my background, it really is like that, like a really bright light, and we might feel like we're in darkness, and that often happens before and sort of during the eclipse season, where we feel like everything's just dark or unknown, or you can't get a grip of it, or you're just having a hard time of things, and sometimes there's a push me pull me kind of effect as well, which you might have been feeling. And that will all be clearing up. And when you're on the brighter side, that's when you get that divine inspiration, and you're just feeling lighter, and you've got a bit of a skip in your step again, which I know that many of you are really looking forward to. So really the key messages that the angels are saying throughout this time is to find things that uplift you, to break the monotony and the actual sort of dull or heavy energy, and being hard on yourself. I'm really feeling this. Many of you are feeling hard on yourself and feeling alone in it all. So hopefully some of my advice will help. And also just focus on your own inner self, not other people. Your own inner peace, and what you can do to maintain that. That might be hard to ignite, let alone maintain. So that will be your challenge. And just watch out also for, with other people, deceptive energy, or people sort of holding up a mask in a way where they're not being their true selves, because a lot of that will be revealed, and you'll be able to see people's true colors through their facades, through their illusions. But it's also time, and I'm feeling a lot of energy in this now, for you to break free from your own illusions, your masks. And we're removing another layer now, coming up in this season, the layers that you've been hiding or oppressing or suppressing, that might have even been hidden to you, or that you very well know about, but you keep them pushed down, because it's nice and safe to keep them down there, right? Some of the stuff is uncomfortable. So when you're dealing with uncomfortable emotions and thoughts, just allow it to come out. Allow it to, the angels are showing me, like putting it all on a golden platter, and just lay it all out there. Lay your cards on the table. It can just be between you and your angelic team, and in your own private way. And be willing and brave enough to look at those cards, to turn them over to the other side, because there's always a flip side, and there's always a sunny new vista ahead. It's just a matter of being willing to go there, to look at what's coming up, and allowing those messages, that insight, that energy to take you forward. And you don't have to see everything straight away, because this whole fear of the unknown brings up a lot of anxiety, a lot of personal emotions, a lot of old traumas and triggers. And so when we are able to look at it and actually go there and sit with it and allow it to speak to us, whether we understand it directly or whether it's happening on a subconscious level, the messages will seep through, so long as you're willing and you're open, and you just allow that process to take place, and it will take you to the next steps, one step at a time. So be gentle with yourself during this process, and know that the divine is always there for you, even if you're feeling separated and isolated. And on that note of separation, really have that feeling of separation as dissipating and coming back into oneness, harmony, and balance, so that you can be more steadfast and centered within yourself, breathing and just being, rather than dividing yourself into all your pieces, just as the world has this kind of seeming illusion of division. And that is the deception unfolding in the outer sphere of the world, where old paradigms and illusions are breaking down, are disintegrating, pieces of them, because nothing is ever finite. There's always pieces, right? And whether that be institutions or people or medical staff, I do feel like medical has got to do with it, as well as political, but a lot of lies and deception out there, especially out in that kind of political and media sphere. So I do feel something changing hands. So for example, just like Twitter just changed hands, right, with Elon Musk, changing hands in various, whatever they are, corporations or groups or businesses or paradigms or whatever it is, belief systems. They are dissecting. There's various sectors or companies where there's a changing of hands, but there's also a sleight of hand. So just keep that in mind and just, notice from a distance. Try not to get too absorbed and involved in it all. Step back and just see it as a picture, like a movie that's over there. And that is with all the outer stuff, but also apply that to whatever's happening in your outer world. Whether it's someone that you're having troubles communicating with, or their energy is a bit much around you, or situations in your life, or the multiple situations in your life, keep them all to the side around you, separate from you. And even though I talk about this oneness and not separation, just keep that energy outside of you so that you are within yourself. And as you're within yourself, you're connecting, communicating with the divine. You're in that sense of oneness, the whole, the circle. And allow that to be your balance and your core. And that is where truth lies. And as the light comes in, it amplifies truth and it within you and the outer world. So allow that to be your guide and your North Star this month.